All right, there we go. I think we're good to go. All right, guys, we'll go ahead and get started. If you haven't been here before, what we like to do is start off with a round of intros. So, telling the people who you are and who you're representing, about a minute or so apiece. Then we'll jump into some roundtable discussions for questions. For these intros, I just go from top to bottom for what my panel shows. So, it looks like Redcoin is opening up.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for having us. And that does seem appropriate. I think we're probably the longest lived project in the group. I've been running since 2014, so that's a good 11 years at this point. Redcoin, for anybody that doesn't recognize the name or the symbol RDD, we're one of the original altcoin projects launched back in 2014. As I said, a fork of Litecoin aimed at social media, microtransactions, really recognizing the value in individuals as opposed to the top-down sort of monolithic models that folks get paid if you have hundreds of thousands of followers. Happy to talk about that later. Myself, I'm Jay Lawrence. I've been leading the project since around 2016, I think. Stepped in really as a volunteer when the original team burned through some ICO funds and resigned. My project leader is based in Sydney, so it's a little bit late for him to join, but that's John Nash. He's been also in the space since 2010, like myself. And really, we've just been champions, both as Redcoin and individuals in the space, looking to push the original, the model that powered crypto, decentralization and enablement of sort of individuals and empowerment, and that ability to do the things that you've been excluded from doing around the world. That really has inspired me. A lot of the work that's been done in the years since is just unbelievable. And of course, I do have opinions on that, but I'd be happy to pass the ball to my co-panel here and let them get the recognition for the work they're doing.
Nice, thank you, man. Okay, let's go with rewards, buddy. If you're speaking, we cannot hear you, or at least I can't hear you. I don't know if that's like a panel thing or whatever. It is an X space, so of course there's going to be some random problem. Never fails. Uh, I'll come back to you guys. Maybe we can fix that here in a second. Let's go with Stablegate.
Hello, Tyler. My name is Alex. I'm the marketing manager at Stablegate. Happy Wednesday, everyone. So excited to be here. Long story short, we provide reliable rails for the real world money so you can use crypto to buy anything you want and anywhere. We've built a Swiss based, fully regulated on a ramp platform designed to simplify crypto to fiat movement securely, globally, and at scale. So, our team has launched multiple successful ventures in Web3 before, and we hope to bring the same experience here. If you're looking for a compliant, high volume gateway for your project or a business, we work with clients from any country, including high risk jurisdictions, and we support all passport types. So, privacy and compliance are at the core of what we do. Thanks. Great to be here.
Thank you, Alex. All right. Genius keeps dropping and coming back, so we're having a great time here today, guys. Hopefully everything works out. Let me add rewards bunny back here. Okay, let's go with GitBlock.
Hey guys. Hey everyone. Vlad from GetBlock is here. And GetBlock is a premium provider of private RPC nodes to 75 plus blockchains. Basically, we are running blockchain nodes so you don't have to. We can connect your application to every blockchain, like from Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and so on and so forth, to the most exotic ones via JSON RPC, WebSockets, GraphQL, and all other possible interfaces. Also, we are running MEV protection solutions. And finally, if you have your own blockchain, and I know some of you guys have your own blockchain, we can roll out them on GetBlock and make them as accessible for millions as Ethereum is and as Bitcoin is. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you, man. All right. Let's go with sorry, my panel's being kind of weird, guys. It's like switching back and forth. Uh PAI3, and if I said that incorrectly, I'm so sorry.
No problem, GM everyone. My name is Pradeep. I'm the CEO of PAI3. We are an edge AI network designed to enable businesses and consumers to run AI in a privacy-preserving manner. So if you're a doctor, you cannot legally or professionally or ethically upload your patient's medical history into XAI or OpenAI. If you're a lawyer, you can't upload discovery documents into a centralized SaaS-based AI. For all these people to use AI agents, they need specialized agents using specially trained models in a completely verifiable inference flow. So PAI3 network addresses that issue of adoption of AI by B2B industry, especially in the professional space. And it is powered by the PAI3 token, which allows everybody to participate in terms of contributing agents, training new models, contributing data, contributing compute, and earning from a shared economy. And one of the key features of PAI3 is that there is an accountability feature, a financial DeFi protocol that underwrites the behavior of the agent. So if an agent does silly things or a model collapses, then how does the user recover from that? So that financial underwriting of agent and model behavior is a key feature of PAI3. So it's a combination of DeFi, AI, and a classic Web3 ethos of data sovereignty and data ownership. Excited to be here. Thank you for having us, and look forward to hearing from this wonderful panel you've assembled. And thanks again.
Thank you, man. All right. Let's try Rewards Bunny again.
I can hear me now.
I can. Yeah.
All right. Just on technical issues earlier. So I'm Jackie from Rewards Bunny. Happy to be here sharing and anyone listening to these spaces right now. So let me share with you on Rewards Bunny. So we are end-to-end data and rewards infrastructure that shares revenue with users, rewarding any Web2, Web3, or real-world action while giving projects insights on-chain. So how it works is we operate like a marketplace, connecting projects and users together with quest and ad campaigns, and users earn by browsing, gaming, and doing quests through our platform. So since launching, we have over 10,000 global brands and process over 100,000 transactions. And we will have many exciting updates coming in the next few weeks. So while we are here, happy for you to try out our Telegram mini app to earn some rewards. Thank you.
Thank you, man. All right. And Dima, you're up, man.
Hi guys, my name is Mitri. I represent Tectum today. Basically, Tectum is a layer 3 PayFi ecosystem built to solve some of the biggest challenges in blockchain today, which are scalability, transaction cost, and obviously the RWA utility. So we offer zero-fee transactions for both private users and merchants, both centralized and decentralized. So I guess that's the easiest way to, explain what we do and how we do.
Nice. Thank you, man. Okay. And last but not least, GNUS AI.
Well, hopefully you guys can all hear me this time. I have to usually jump on my phone because for some reason the web-based thing keeps kicking me on and off. But just to acknowledge, okay, good. I got a thumbs up, I think, there. So that's good. So GNUS AI is an infrastructure that we've been building for quite a while now. And it's really kind of this whole ecosystem that allows you to basically operate behind the scenes or in the background using unused cycles of your GPU, whether it's on your phone or your home computer or anything like that. Well, that sounds great for, anybody can do this and write this kind of code, which a lot of people are, like BitTensor and stuff like that. We operate a little bit differently in that we operate like even when you're playing a game. And yeah, of course, there's unused cycles available, but the rewards get paid out in the in-game currency, for instance, or the child tokens of the Genius network. And so we kind of do have our own blockchain that is like a layer 0 that interfaces to other blockchains. And so it completely operates independently and allows this kind of monetization channel across all blockchains and all NFT systems like OpenSea and others, Rarible and things like that. And we're just about to launch mainnet here in the next month or two. And yeah, that's about it from a high level overview of Genius.
Nice, thank you, man. And yeah, you probably have problems with the web one. I have problems with the phone one. Everybody just has problems with it because apparently voice over IP is really hard for X to master for some reason. But yeah, I'm glad you're here, man. Hopefully everybody holds, and we're good to go throughout the whole session now. But yeah, thanks, guys. So we'll go ahead and jump to the questions. We're talking a little bit about issues of mass adoption. I would call it overall today. So the first question is self-custody truly accessible to the average person, or are we asking people to take on risks that they aren't adequately equipped for? And yeah, we will go off of a hand raise mechanism like Red is doing. So Red, you could start us off, man.
Brilliant. And that's a great topic. I was actually kind of excited to see that on the list because it's truly, it goes to the core of what we're all doing. And I think the short answer after having been here for so long is, good Lord, self-custody is not accessible. It is a nightmare for everybody, top to bottom. Even folks that have been here for a hot minute, you'll know, you go to send a transaction and your heart's in your throat. You're double checking and none of that should be appropriate. It should be easy. It should be safe and smart. But it's the problem is technology at its heart is not. And this is a very technology heavy function. But I think I can securely say, no pun intended, self-custody is a fantastic concept. It's driven a lot of the work that we've done here, but it certainly is not ready nor suitable, I think, for the vast majority of the consumers of what we're doing. But fundamentally, it doesn't necessarily need to be. Grandma can send email without having to run an Exchange server or a Linux box so I think retargeting that conversation and aiming at the right people, yet and still it's a conversation because even the folks that are most skilled are still a little bit iffy. I think we are building towards it, and 15 years later we're still trying to solve that problem. I don't think it's the goal, though, that a lot of people put out there as sort of the end all and be all.
Yeah, I don't necessarily believe that it is either. I think that there's always going to be people who don't really want to take on that level of responsibility, and I think that's okay. I think that's why centralized exchanges exist and will exist. Your example of your grandma using like an email. We also have to think of how long it took like people of that age to be okay with even sending an email, right? And there's still people who have trouble with just the most rudimentary things. I mean, if you think about like people using their Facebook, like what's going on today as like a Google search, right? I mean, it does happen. It's crazy, but it happens.
The consequences are. I'm sorry, I'm talking over you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, man. No worries.
I was just thinking the consequences are so much dire in our space because you can send an email and it goes to the wrong person. It's not a problem. You send your life savings, or you click on the wrong link and your money is taken. The impact is so much more, catastrophic.
May I just say something contrary to this? Because how you're saying you can send this to someone else and your funds are just gone. Well, in my opinion, this is similar to cash. Usually the way you handle cash, you lose it, that's it. Goodbye to your cash. That's the only difference. The only difference is that you're using digital space in this case, right?
In a sense,
yeah. I mean,
there's a centralized authority to go to and say, "Give me my money back." There is not in our space, and that's part of the problem. Self-custody ends at yourself.
I mean, and plus there's like remuneration, I guess you could say, like if something happens, like if you get scammed with cash and things, there's a chance to, kind of go after that person or whatever. Of course, that's kind of like a separate issue. I mean, as far as like being scammed goes versus just making a mistake and sending something that you'll never be able to recover. But that's also just a function of the blockchain. So, I mean, I don't know how you would ever fix that because fundamentally speaking, you don't want a blockchain to be reversible. So, I mean, I guess it's just kind of like one of the caveats of being involved over here. But, maybe you guys feel a little differently about it. But
Well, this is the principle of the blockchain, basically.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not a function, it's a principle, the way blockchain works. So I don't think it will ever be or should be reversible.
Yeah, I don't either. But I think we could definitely make it easier for people to, for one, like the main thing that I can think of is just human readable addresses, right? Instead of just a string of letters and numbers, we could definitely start to see more human readable addresses as a way to fix the issue. Different checks. Obviously, I think MetaMask now even tells you, like, hey, you haven't sent to this address before. Are you sure about this? That kind of thing. I think just a little bit of safeguarding is welcome, to be honest. But yeah. Stablegate, you have your hand up, man. You want to go for it?
Sure. Great topic, by the way. So, self custody is a great idea. Been going strong for like a few years. In theory, yeah, it's a crypto version of everyone should grow their own food. Live off the land.
That's
It's
perfect.
novel. I mean, it's idealistic, but I think it's still completely unhinged. If you've ever seen someone try to reset their iCloud password for the third time, like in a week, I don't know. We keep seeing "be your own bank" all the time. There's a lot of ads, but well, let's be honest, most people barely trust themselves with a debit card, let alone reversible cryptographic key management. We replaced forgetting your PIN with losing your life savings. So, yeah, you've been right. Like, it takes one wrong click, and there's some Rouge extension, and a very friendly, efficient email that says, like, "Dear Madam Sir, yeah, do this, send there," and it's gone. Well, there are great tools, hardware wallets, multi-sigs, and seed phrase backups, but using them properly, well, it requires the tech literacy, like of quite a smart person. Yeah, is it not really accessible? Technically, yes, but so is doing your own dental work. It doesn't mean it's a good idea for the average person. So, if we want real adoption happening next few years, I think we need to stop pretending wants to be like a James Bond with a Ledger Nano S. Instead, we should build systems that by default have the safety protocol and tolerate stupidity, which is important because all this modern tech, it wants you to feel like you're smart. Instead, you're not. Yeah, and because that, my friends, the most reliable constant in tech is users will click the wrong thing. That's the problem, and it will keep happening.
That
That was
was
a
like
pretty.
poetry. I just have to jump on and say that was like poetry. That was beautiful. Stablegate, whatever your name
Yeah,
actually is. I and
Alex.
I can't agree enough.
Yeah, I absolutely agree as well. I think that's a really good way to put it. Built in for stupidity is a good way to put it. I mean, there's really no other apt way. That's what we have to build for. It's the kind of people that we have to build for, essentially, as well. And yeah, what Redcoin, when he first started his topic as well, of like, even us in the space, you get that mini heart attack every time you send something. Like, for instance, when I'm sending to crypto.com to kind of off ramp or whatever, even though I know it's the same address and I have it saved in my contacts, I triple check every time that for some reason, my wallet over there hasn't changed or something like that. And, the fact that I kind of have to worry about that is a little crazy, but I understand, obviously it's the tech, right? We're trying to abstract away as much as possible as that we can. But at the same time, too much abstraction, you could argue that is kind of hiding the risk from people, or, they're not really fundamentally understanding what they're doing. So, that's another argument that I've heard made as well. But, I think that there has to be something a little greater than what we're doing right now, personally. But yeah.
Can I just quickly, ask you a question? Because I've been sitting and thinking, how often do people mistakenly send money through the bank account? Well, I personally don't. I feel like this is the case in crypto. People are constantly told, "Hey, you put one number wrong, you lose it. That's it." And this is more of the, scaring people for no goddamn reason, because this is similar to the bank account. Only difference is, yes, it can be recovered through the bank. If you send it through the bank account, but in crypto you cannot. So my question is like, how often do people mistakenly send money through the bank account? I don't think it's a common thing to do.
Yeah, I don't think it's common either, necessarily. And I'm sure it happens, right? And I haven't made that mistake personally
Exactly.
because, I triple check, obviously. So,
Well, yeah.
yeah, which I think, again, and this question as well, leads to another elephant in the room, which is, people need to take responsibility for their own actions as well at some point, right? I mean, they have to. How are we going to move forward? Not only like in this industry as a whole, but I think people need to take more personal responsibility in general in their lives. But I mean, so like, we're on the same wavelength, man. Like, I get what you're saying for sure. So, but yeah. Let me see. Red Coin raised their hand to jump back in, and then Genius will go with you guys after that.
Appreciate it. And yeah, trying to be aware of other people's time and insights here. I just wanted to jump in and say a couple of things. And one is, one of the things you just mentioned, that whole let's abstract away some of the confusing bits and the alphanumeric addresses and let's make them people readable. That was actually a mission that Redcoin took on early on, noticing that that's a huge challenge for people to deal with addresses, copy and paste, and maybe it's intercepted or maybe you left off as opposed to at Redcoin or at Stablegate or at Web3 Global Talks or something, as you said, human readable. That's really been our key use case for Redcoin in a product we've called Red ID. It's morphed into Red Mobile. We launched in 2018 and rapidly failed because of scaling issues. But all of that to say, that's one of the missions that we and lots of other platforms are trying to solve, is that enable you to use the technology as a non-technical person. I think that's really what we're talking about here, because at the end of the day, people don't necessarily care about confirmations and block times and transactions and this and that unless they have to. They just want to hit send and the other guy got paid and they're done. And I think it does introduce a lot of complexity, but at its heart, it's a function people are comfortable with. Send money to other entity. We're just making it a little more streamlined and figuring out what the problems are as we go. I really think the person, and hopefully it is Redcoin, where we've got some good stuff coming out, the person or entity or platform that really solves that, make it a bit easier, is really doing, kind of in quotes, God's work in the space here and really advancing things, because that's what it takes. It's not necessarily the coolest new advance. It's making something work reliably and easily so that the vast majority of folks in the world can use it, because they're not us. And we lose sight of that.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't think that the main problem is really self custody. I don't think that that's like a huge issue. I think the issue is like getting people to understand how to get started, right? Like, what's an RPC? How to add all these different things. What blockchain you need to be on. What gas do you need to send this transaction? I mean, that's the harder part than actually just holding on to your money. I don't think that that's incredibly difficult. I mean, you could argue that like writing a seed phrase down is a bit annoying and maybe seems kind of archaic in a way, but I don't think that that's incredibly difficult for anybody to do. I mean, I have my seed phrase in a hard as in a hard location written down somewhere. Like, that's not the hard part. The hard part for me was like understanding when I started, like, okay, I need the RPC to add to this wallet. How do I do that? What's the way that I do it? What gas do I need on this chain? And there's been plenty of times when my friends are like, hey, come try out this new play on this new chain. And I'm like, dude, I don't really want to, because like I'm gonna have to find a bridge. I'm gonna have to figure out which exchange I want to use or different things like that. So I think the problem is more that everything is just really siloed. I do think self, custody is an issue, but I don't think it's the big one. So, but Genius, I'll let you guys jump in. And if you're speaking, we cannot hear you. Let me see if I can give you a second. Damn, I swear, dude, Elon, work on the X spaces. What the hell, man? Uh, yeah, still can't hear you, buddy. I don't know what's going on. That's okay. Let me try to get back to you. I would suggest maybe dropping one more time and coming back, and I will add you back up here. No worries. All right. Yeah, Tectum. You
How
may
about
go
now?
forward.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah. You're good.
Yeah, I don't know. This X Space is really, it's just so broken. It's like crazy. I'm just sitting here listening. My mic all of a sudden just won't turn on. I don't know why on the iPhone. Anyway, I digress. This is uh, everything. Everybody's been saying everything has been really great. I think the one item I'd like to add is that it's in the DNA of blockchain not to be centralized, and a lot of this stuff has to do with centralization to protect users. I mean, there's compliance in the US regulatory to protect users and protect them from losing their money and protect them from scammers and all of that. But um, in my opinion, I think we kind of need both. Where we have the normies who need the protection and the help through this stuff, and then we have the degens like us who are just like, no, we're going to do this ourselves, and we're going to hold everything ourselves and be in control of everything because we're competent enough to understand how blockchain works and all that. But in general, I think we're going to have to partner, and I'd like, in my goal is to keep us separated from the Black Rocks and the banks and things like that, and the CBDCs or whatever they have coming on with the Genius Act, the stable coins. And because when the government gets involved, then it stifles innovation. And so the decentralized part of it allows me to not have to worry about all that regulatory compliance stuff, right? And protecting people's money, even though I have started to build in some protection mechanisms, the idiot button. Um, as you guys were talking about, where things like adding a two-factor authentication right on the blockchain, or allowing a way to recover that if possible, if voted by a DAO, to recover your two-factor authentication code. But it had to be voted on and stuff like that. So without creating a central authority to do that, but more of a decentralized authority to help with the idiot button, or the OK button, or whatever it is, I guess. But yeah, in general, it's a long road unless you partner with centralization, and that just kind of goes against crypto in general. But I think we need to go there if we're going to get the mass amounts of influx into our smaller blockchains. I mean, Ethereum can do this because they're kind of integrated into BlackRock, and Coinbase is integrated into some of the bigger blockchains and things like that. But for us smaller guys, that kind of stifles innovation for us to try to constantly protect the end user and do innovate at the same time.
Yeah, I actually agree with that sentiment as well. And that's another whole other can of worms with Ethereum and their BlackRock connection and different things like that. I think everybody in this call would agree that we don't really want them with their tendrils in literally everything over here, as they already are in the rest of the world. I mean, BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street, I believe it's called. I can't remember the last one. Pretty much own like every company ever made. So that's kind of something that we definitely want to avoid over here. I feel like that anybody could agree that that's kind of the original idea around here. This is a bit off topic, but I always talk about how it's almost like the industry now is like there's a schism between it, where on one path you have like all of the the original crypto ethos, crypto cypherpunk kind of movement, fully decentralized, and then you have almost like a Web 2.5 kind of area where it's really involved in a lot of centralized entities bringing on traditional people. And I think that's always going to be a part of the industry. I mean, obviously, as a person you have to kind of I guess delineate in your mind who you want to get involved with, and if it kind of keeps in line with whatever your ethos is as well. I don't think it's something that we can necessarily stop, but builders can definitely choose to who they work with and how they want their stuff to work. So but yeah, thank you, man. Sorry, I got a little off topic there, but no worries. Let's see. I saw Red Coin again, and then Tectum again. So Red Coin, you can go, man.
Thanks. I was originally responding to something a few minutes back that I think we lost the thread of. That Genius, what you said, you're absolutely right. And the point that I can't help but seeing things evolve as we're building them and as we're targeting these concepts of what's money and how, who's in control and who should we trust. And, Coinbase are they the enemy? Are they an ally? Are they part of the space? And the stuff that you just brought up is absolutely right. I can't help but look at news. There was an announcement today that the Chinese social media sphere is changing in a way. They're actually linking not individual IPs to homes, but individual social identity to online identity. And that, to me, that's a bit of a sea change. It's a bit of a step up in what they've been doing, and the way that their citizens are monitored. But truthfully, that goes on around the world. It's advancing in our, in the Western space as well, with surveillance and the folks at Palantir and the rest of them. I see what we're doing again as not just a cool, fun way to make money and, work with the tech, but we're really fighting a battle here and enabling folks to have tools to continue that fight for right and self and identity and trust with all of the stuff that we're doing. That goes for every person in this room and every project on the panel. And to that, I really think there's power in what we're doing. And you can talk about, BlackRock's in control, and they're not really. They're understanding things that we're building and hiring people from our space to adopt it. But that's really the nature of this tech space. And, I've been in IT well before crypto. It really was the same in the internet boom in the 90s. It's that how do we adapt and control things that are disruptive? And that's really what we're doing here. The more we can drive people controlling their own money and having their own voice that's uncensorable, I think it's admirable work, and kudos to everybody working on that sort of stuff. And I've now lost the thread of my own comment, so I'll pass it back to the panel.
Yeah, thank you, man. Okay, Tectum, you can go again.
Yeah, basically, while talking about the whole, self-custody and mass adoption, I feel like the self-custody issue is slightly, overrated, in the sense that I don't think it's the self-custody that stops people from adopting crypto. It's actual, well, as we said already, it's the complexity of it, right? Because, you need to know the seed phrases, you need to know the wallets, you need to know everything. And it's a bit of a mess, as well as, you come up to, I don't know, isolated village somewhere in South America, right? And you try to explain to them what is Bitcoin, and how exactly you planning to explain this. You're going to tell them that, hey, there is somewhere out there in the internet, there's a digital currency that, that mines, that, holds value. No, this is just not the case. And I feel like this is the main problem, is the whole mass adoption of crypto, that you need to be able to show them something. I mean, to be honest, this is like the main approach of Tectum. We came up with the soft note wallet. We came up even with the physical soft notes, which are basically, a printed out wallet, if I can call it so, right? Which is essentially a proof of ownership of a certain amount of currency, whether in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on and so on. So I feel like the problem of complexity in Web3 is much more common, rather than, the self-custody for people to manage their own funds, because people are managing their own funds ever since, they reached the age of 18. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, man. Sorry, guys, I was trying to fix some technical issues I was having while you guys were going there. Let me see. I'm gonna get somebody we haven't talked to yet, guys. So, Get Blocked, do you want to answer this question?
Yeah, absolutely. If Elon allows us, I would like to answer. Yep. Of course, for me, self-custody is accessible to everyday people. It should be, and it can be. If it were not, then we might as well be content with where we are now. We might stop innovating altogether, and we should admit that Binance, Bybit, or whatever is the peak of the blockchain revolution, and that's the end of it. But that's not the case. For me, Self-custody, when it is properly explained and designed with good UX UI, is absolutely accessible. It is understandable. It may not be necessary for everyone, like almost every colleague here mentioned, but it still deserves massive adoption. For me, it's not just a goal; it is a path forward. If 7 out of 10 people use self-custody, that's a lot better than just 1 out of 10. So we have to promote it. We have to explain it clearly, and we absolutely must build better experiences around it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
couldn't agree more, man. Thank you. PAI3.
Yeah, great conversation. Very exciting perspective from many of the speakers. Now, in terms of custody, when you take the business perspective, business have long been held accountable for custody of other people's data and self-custody of their intellectual property. So if you're a software company, you obviously know how to protect your source code. That's a form of self-custody. Yeah, that you're not willing to trust somebody else to have. If you're a doctor, you are holding patient data, and if you leak it, you go to prison, or at least you pay $50,000 per instance in the US under HIPAA. So custody has been a long understood concept. And even consumers understand that they have to hold their social security number or their medical information private. They shouldn't be posting it on Facebook or printing it out and leaving it on the side of a street. So custody is a well understood concept in most societies and by most roles. What we are trying to do here with Web3 is to bring custody to things that are not easy to have under your control today. So when you talk about, and when you look at the post AI world, where AI agents are mining every element of our existence, trying to learn everything about us without our permission, so that they can manipulate us into buying things or voting a certain way or thinking certain things, then custody and privacy are going to become much more important, because you can't just say, well, it's okay if other people know about me. It's not okay if they use that information to alter the course of your life, which AI will very soon be able to do that. So I think the question here isn't whether consumers should have self-custody or they care or they need it. The answer to all of that is yes, they should, they will care, and they need it. The only question then lies in how can we make that custody of financial data, financial assets, or medical data, or legal information, or even your social media interactions that we have become so used to being public. We have to bring that all back into a more privatized, secure space, which I decide who has access to, which is the same definition of custody all over again. So my view is we can argue on whether people are smart enough or not smart enough to use Web3 technology. It's our job to make custody of every human element, financial, legal, medical, social, turn into a custodial capability. So I don't have to sacrifice privacy to use your product. I don't have to give up the name of my dog to be able to book a flight. Those kind of things have become too commonplace, and Web3 has to replace that. And if we don't, then the combination of centrally controlled and monetized data in the hands of big corporations, coupled with AI, we are looking at a very dystopian future. So I think, in my view, custody is going to become increasingly more important of financial and non-financial assets. And it would be really great, and I think we are moving towards it, inching towards it, where self-custody is actually a palatable, usable experience, a user experience, and it goes beyond financial. It goes to all your data.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. My panel's actually working now, so I caught every bit of that. I absolutely agree. I mean, you can already see it in action, like especially in third world countries and different things like that, where they don't even have access to regular banking, or if they do, there's some kind of corruption running through there, and people picked it up really fast. As far as crypto goes, out of necessity, right? Which is another argument that I've always made, that crypto is definitely more born out of necessity than it is out of kind of hobby right now and things. So like, especially in the US, like people will be like, oh, well, I'm perfectly fine with my bank. It's okay. Until their bank has a bank run. And then they start to question like, oh God, what the hell did I get myself into? Maybe there's another way to do it. Yeah, PAI3, did you raise your hand again, man?
Yeah, I did. I wanted to share a very strange anecdote that I had last week. Speaking of banks, I'm visiting my mother here in Washington, D.C., and she asked me to do a online wire from one of the major banks in the United States, where she's been a customer for a decade or more. So first, their website doesn't allow you to do a wire. There is no mechanism to do a wire. So you go to the bank, to the branch, which is not that convenient. She goes there. She's 80 plus, and they say to her, we have put up a new system, so branches cannot do a wire anymore. We'll send you a special link by email where you can click and do a wire. It's not on our website. It's not in the branch. So then she comes home. She waits for the email. She clicks on this link when it arrives, and then it says, you need to wait 30 days because you are a new wire customer. Please enter all your information again, and in 30 days we'll send you another link through which you can do a wire. Now imagine this is a major US bank, I will not name names, that in July of 2025 makes it impossible to send your own money from your own account to your own account in another institution, and wants you to wait 30 days and put you through this rigmarole. The point is, it's not just about convenience anymore. It's about whether we are going to have the ability to have any human agency, or we're going to end up essentially functioning in a very highly centralized and controlled universe where we can't even access our own assets, which we legitimately deposited, but now we can withdraw. So given the freshness of this episode and the surprise element of built into this whole wiring episode, I think Web3 is on a mission from God.
Yeah, fair enough, man. And a pretty righteous argument. I think we could definitely all agree with that. And it will only get worse. I think as time goes on, unless we start to get people involved with self custody as well. Obviously, I kind of agree in that mission overall. Maybe I'm discounting my fellow man a little bit when I speak a little bit. Doubtfully, I guess, about people's propensity to actually take charge and do things. I just think that sometimes it requires a bit of upheaval in people's lives away from like the convenient aspect of things. But yeah, I think it's definitely a good thing, and hopefully people start to actually start caring about this stuff. So, and to the credit of everybody who's already in this space, a lot of us do already care, right? So, but yeah, thank you, man. We'll go with rewards money.
Yeah, I mean, adding on to custody, it can be empowering, but I don't think it's accessible to everyone yet, because most users still live in a Web2 dominant world. We spend hours daily in the Web2, but we just spend minutes on chain. And most people are still familiar with signing in with Google or their social logins. And that's why we should, take a progressive onboarding approach to this. Like, users don't need to jump into self-custody on day one. They could start with simple like Web2 tools like email logins, browser extension, or even Telegram mini app without ever touching a seed phrase. And once they are ready, we can allow them to connect a wallet, build a profile, and gradually move them into more advanced stuff. You see, the idea is actually not to force people into complexity, but to let them learn and also own their identity over time. So it's just like AI when it first started, everyone just started learning about ChatGPT, and slowly we learned how to like prompt them properly, while now more advanced users are actually like creating AI agents. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Nice, thank you, man. Red, do you want to jump back in real quick on this one? If you are jumping back in right now, we cannot hear you. Of course we can't. Why would X just function correctly? I swear this code base must be built with like duct tape and baling wire. I don't understand why it has so many issues all of the time. But okay, I'll let you jump back in a minute, or maybe you want to just go with the second question here whenever I ask it. This is really kind of related to the first question. Speaking specifically of like recovering seed phrases and custody solutions, and the question is, can we design social recovery and community custody solutions that balance sovereignty with practical security. So the question when I was thinking of this is obviously like, I've heard the argument be made about, like you pay a company that will actually keep all of your keys and everything else like that. And if you lose them, of course, you can reach out to them. Then the argument becomes, well, there is some centralization involved in that. So is it the original ethos? And then, who watches the watchers at that point, essentially, as well. So kind of a complex thing here. But Stablegate, you can open us up, man.
Awesome. Yeah. Great subject overall, great audience. So the short answer to that would better. Because until we do, half of the people in crypto are the ones who pass it not away from financial ruin. Yeah. Social recovery, it's a great thing. I mean, your trusted friends help you recover access to your wallet if you lose your keys. That sounds good, but there's reality check when do you really trust Dave from your high school with this shard of your seed phrase? The same guy who once borrowed your PS5 and like returned it with a smell like tequila? I mean, probably not. So the challenge isn't technical, it's a human. Like in many other industries, it's a like human threat. Trust is squishy. I mean, social graphs shift and communities are often one day drama away from full blown civil war. So that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. In fact, we have to try because the alternative is making people choose between full sovereignty and full chaos. So if crypto is really about to empower users, like been promised in the last decade, we need to give them options that don't feel like walking tightrope with a no net. So think social recovery that's built into wallets but optional. Time blocked approvals, like maybe delegated guardians, AI guardians. It is so auto revoke logic, something very smart, very sophisticated that works. Yeah, a lot of things can be implemented, but the ability to say oops must be there. To say oops and not lose everything. Because let's be honest, your crypto journey should not feel like, and because your toddler ate your seed phrase, or you like dog ate it, or you kind of lost somewhere. That happened a lot to my friends.
Yeah, very well said. There's been times in my life where I didn't know exactly where my ledger was, and I thought I was gonna die. So that's just another thing, right? That's a hardware wallet, so that's a good example of like, I guess you could say better self custody, or at least more secure. But again, that comes with caveats as well. And if I'm somebody who's deep into crypto, and I was wondering in a move where my ledger was, and just imagine the everyday person. And you had a really good example as well of like, do you actually trust your friends if you're going so far as a social recovery? I've seen a lot of different innovation, I guess you could say, in this space, like breaking it up onto basically NFC cards. That if you have, 4 out of 7, you can recover your seed phrase. But then again, then you have 7 things to keep up with, and if you lose those, well, that's a problem, right? And you don't want them all in one place. So yeah, a lot of different angles, I guess we could definitely take this, depending on how it goes. But yeah, I get you, man. All right, it's going to be Genius and then Tectum.
Yeah, hopefully my mic is working here.
Yeah, you're good, man.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I figured out that it was actually on my side. My internet was going in and out, and it was going over Wi-Fi. So I just turned the internet off, and I'm over 5G now. So that hopefully will solve part of the problem. But I've been thinking about this since 2016, actually, because how to get normies on there, and I call them normal, and we're the abnormal ones or the degens. So just so you know, that's why I always call them normal, because I don't want to insult normal people, but in general, what I've realized was that the seed phrase are kind of your social security number, as you said, another version of that. And I don't store that with anybody, but there are ways where because there's so many wallets that you might have to have, like a Bitcoin wallet. I know there's multi wallets and things like that, but I decided to kind of build something into our smart contracts that allow the wallet creation itself to be um, targeted or derived from. It's called a key derivation function, to be derived from one code, basically, so that you don't have to worry about, hey, what my Ledger wallet is, or what my Trust wallet is, or this wallet or that wallet. And so it simplifies things, but it allows you to recover that wallet online by encrypting your private keys in a set of 16 other encryption keys, and that's all generated through uh, a basically the smart contract. But what it also does, and one thing I think people don't realize, is that it also enables compliance for us. And so that's why it was developed, because let's say that, you know, we go through this masking process. It does several things for us. It basically masks your address and the amount of money that's being transferred, right? So you can, it's a privacy. It was actually originally a privacy feature, but we figured out real quickly that we also need to have compliance, because, you know, North Korea is not entitled to privacy. Sorry. And so if the US government came to us and forced us, you know, through their many wily ways to reveal what the address and what the amounts are, we need to be able to do that. And so if we are forced by a court order, we can unencrypt that one wallet only, right? And so everybody else's is kept encrypted and privacy preserving. But that also adds the benefit of, along with the same system, you have your it kind of acts almost like a multi-sig too, because now you have your what do they call it, two-factor authentication that's built in as well, so that it goes hand in hand with that generation of that wallet address. Is, does it have a two-factor authentication um, component to it as well? And so I think that there are ways, but you can only go so far. I mean, you know, I don't really want, like somebody said, I don't really want to give anybody, you know, except maybe my wife, right? And I'm going to hammer that on a metal plate and put it in a box somewhere, and then just like I do my gold, right? So it's not like I want to tell anybody where my gold is, and you know what bank it's stored at, and in the safety deposit box or anything like that. But it's there. And same thing with my, you know, two wallets that I have. I have them hammered into a metal plate and stored in a safety deposit box, you know, in case I ever lose anything. And so I think that we're just, you know, we can only go so far to protect somebody from themselves. And I think we're just, you know, I think we've gone as far as we could, and maybe there's some incremental um, incremental work that can be done. But in general, it's a very long uphill battle to idiot proof the whole entire system, uh, so that you won't lose your encryption. But we can, you know, like I said, we're doing the best we can with the things that we've done. But I'm just can't wait to hear what everybody else's thoughts are on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. You know, there is an element of people have to be, you know, self-sovereign. They have to take responsibility for their actions as well. And I mean, a lot of the actions that you have to take over here to really get involved with it is just educating yourself as well, which, you know, unfortunately, I think that the attention span of people has really gone down in like the last 10 years. Everybody wants to understand something in a 30-minute snippet. And if you don't understand it in 30 minutes, then you don't mess with it, even if it could make your life better, right? And, you know, I think that's a bit of a shame. And I think, to be honest with you, a lot of this is just, it has to be overcome with will. Like, you have to be willing to put in the work to an extent to do this. And the thing you were talking about with privacy, I'll say that's a can of worms. You know, I had this conversation in another space, and it was like, it was kind of about Tornado Cash, actually. And, you know, how are they culpable for anything that anybody does on their mixer when, you know, you wouldn't go to the Federal Reserve because somebody used, you know, the US currency for some nefarious purpose, right? It's just a platform. And I kind of agree that all technology is a bit agnostic, you know, in terms of morality or its usage, unless it's like, you know, hard coded specifically and only for nefarious purposes, one could argue that we shouldn't ever give up any kind of encryption on wallets and things like that in your example. But I agree that, we do have to live in the real world, and the real world definitely has governments that will want to be involved in these kind of things. So, I guess in a perfect world, we wouldn't want to do that, but we would often have to. So I know that's a little bit of a different topic, but I just wanted to hit on it. But yeah, thank you, man. Great insight. Tectum.
Yeah, thank you. I absolutely agree with what the Stablegate has said, as well as the GNUS, because I feel like there's always a debate, between how far are you willing to compromise for your security in a sense between this decentralized model and centralized model, because one thing is giving your password, your keys to the house to your family members, to your wife, and the other thing is entrusting them to a third party. If I'm not mistaken, even the hardware wallets such as Ledger, maybe it wasn't Ledger, maybe it was someone else, they offer you an option to recover your password. And for me, it's a nonsense, because isn't it supposed to be, the most secure wallet? And, it just doesn't make sense in my head, as well as, as the GNUS has said already, it's just pretty much an idiot-proof solution. You don't give your house keys to someone else to open the door for you. No, you do it yourself. So why should you not keep your password secure in your own private place?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with you. I think that would be kind of like, what is the point of doing that on a ledger? Then why do you even have a ledger? I would argue, though, that there are different ways of self custody. I could see like a two-factor login. I think one of you guys was kind of hinting on this. I'm sorry, I can't remember who exactly, but like as far as like an email login for a wallet that also then uses 2FA, like for a code on your phone or something that makes sense to people, right? And the reason why I make that argument is because you see it all the time in Web 2 now. Not everything that Web 2 does is something to be scoffed at or treated as not a good way to do it. People are used to two-factor authentication and logging in on emails, so why not, right? It might not be as secure as a seed phrase or something like that, but I think it's not a bad idea potentially. I just want to throw that out there as well. You guys may feel a little differently about that one, but thank you.
Can I just add something here
Yeah,
about the 2FA security? Obviously, it's more secure because in that case you need to hack two services at once. You need to hack the website, you need to hack the email as well, right? But once again, it all comes up to the which resources does the hacker have? Because if he has a powerful machine, if he has the capability to to actually hack someone, it's pretty much all about the password that you chose, right? For example, at Tecton, we partnered with one of the crypto experts, right? And we developed our own solution, which basically collects entropy, and entropy is, well, pretty much all the noises you hear in the world, the images, whatever, and it's basically the most random thing you can ever get, right? And this thing is after all is after converted into a password, right? And technically this password is the most random you can get, the most secure, but it's a 12-digit password, and who the hell is going to remember that unless you write it down somewhere, right? And this is just the case of, would you have that most secure random password, or would you prefer the 2FA, which is less secure but more practical, right? So maybe from the 2FA we'll move on to the 3FA, 4FA, where you have the email, the phone, and some other third-party app, right? So I don't know. I feel like if someone really had the dedication to go into someone's wallet, he'll do it. It will definitely take some time, but he'll definitely do it, because as a lot of solutions claim they are quantum proof. Well, it's just not true. There's nothing quantum proof yet. It's always a game of the cat and mouse.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to introduce quantum into the argument, literally everything we're talking about is out the window. I mean, even Bitcoin at a sufficiently powerful quantum computer. So, this is some things that we should definitely be taking into account. But as far as like, logging in with an email on a wallet and things. I mean, we could Sui Chain is doing that literally. That's how you log in with their wallet or whatever. But it seems to be just an email and a password, which seems kind of crazy to me personally. But yeah, I mean, we'll definitely see how it goes. I think there'll be a mix of solutions, but. I will be quiet a little bit from now on, guys, to make sure everybody can get an answer in here in time. So, but thank you, guys. Rewards Bunny.
Yeah, we think it's definitely possible, but we believe that this mechanism will be essential for real adoption. That's why we're also exploring like soulbound identity layer, which actually allows users to link their Web2 identities, like emails and socials, with wallet data, and also build a non-transferable NFT that acts like a Web3 passport. So this actually helps to open doors to like selective disclosure, permission recovery, and eventually social recovery, backed by trusted people or community validators. But we feel that no, we are not there yet, but we are building towards a future where users can really opt into like a layered custody model, whereby we can start simple, and then slowly we upgrade to like multi-sig, and then or have a designated social guardians, but without locking themselves into like one rigid setup. I think in short, like Web3 doesn't need to be fragile. We can bake a resilient and also usability right into the design itself. Yep.
Yeah, thank you, man. All right, let's go with Red Coin. See if you can talk again, man.
I appreciate it. I would really just say this is a great conversation, and folks have really contributed a lot of insight. I think specifically the aspect that what we're doing here is inevitable. So working towards solutions, benefits everybody. I think hearing people talk through it, and specifically GNUS and some of the other comments that were made, it really highlights the fact that these are moving targets. We have a problem that's new because we invented a new technology, and that's going to continue to evolve. I just have to sort of give a nod to all of the different attempts to solve how do we protect these keys, these seed phrases, the jewels of the realm, and all of the different approaches that are being taken to do that. The idea of splitting it up among members of your social circle. There was an open source protocol called Dark Crystal that attempted to implement that a bunch of years back, and it's been evolved more, to the point where we're talking about social recovery. The controversy with Ledger in there, we can recover your keys, of course. That it speaks to the same thing, which is this is so valuable, especially as I accumulate more wealth in the wallet that this item controls. How do I protect it? How do I even understand it? Because people don't get the fact that if you have a 12-word seed phrase and you give 2 words to each of 6 very trusted friends, you're giving away clues to the larger key to everybody. They've eliminated a number of words, and if you dig into that technology, it becomes a little bit distressing. The more words you give to someone, the more the chance that person can just hack and take your stuff. That ends that social recovery concept, cuts it off at the feet. But then the question is, what do we do? Because people don't want to control their seeds and deal with their keys and derive. I mean, you start talking about key derivation and one master key that controls everything, and my security sense pops up and goes, cool, let's take that key. And then, you've moved the target a little bit in the name of making all of this easier. And I think that's a big part of what's going on here, that we have a balance between it's so important that we protect, in a sense, self-custody, my access, my ability to control my funds, but at the same time, make it so easy that a Facebook user or a Twitter user can click and send. And those two goals they're mutually incompatible. The easier you make it, the less safe it is. But we're fighting for both, and that's a little bit confusing.
Yeah, I think we have to kind of pick a side and go with it. I definitely agree. I could go into more depth, but I got to give these other guys time. But thank you, man. I appreciate it. All right. Let's go with GitBlock.
Okay, guys, I try to be short because there was a really profound discussion. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of this class of solutions. For me, they feel like both duct tape, like then palliative fixes, like temporary fixes. Beyond offering some short-term help, they can actually obscure the core idea of self-custody, the core idea, which is the real responsibility and the real opportunity represented by this real responsibility, real self sovereignty. I don't believe their limitations are greater than the challenges of true self custody, especially for someone who cares about managing their private keys. Like, guys, that's not that difficult. You can learn how to manage your private keys yourselves. So I'm afraid this is not where our focus should be. If we promote in these tools, we will never ever make normies to use self custody. Centralized exchange simply won't let us to do so. Like, should this be the case in terms of business? That's another question. But for me, that doesn't look great. Only like first or second speaker mentioned some kinds of AI powered multi-sig AI vouchers for the signatures. This concept may work. This concept may be fair, inclusive, democratic, and so on. But social custody doesn't look good for me. Thank you.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm starting to not believe in self custody at all as we have been speaking in this space. So, yeah, my opinion's changed a little bit about it. Let's see. Let's go with PAI3 first and then Genius.
Well, it's been a great conversation, and it does raise the questions that I think Red Coin team said. There are sometimes these interests of usability, and we called it consumer friendly, stupid proof, whatever you want to use, with true self custody and with true security seem to be incompatible. And that, I think, in that intersection lies the opportunity as to where we build solutions. And you're going to have solutions that lean more towards more privacy and security, but still have a safety valve. And you're going to lean towards solutions that are very easy to use, but then carry their inherent expanded risk with them. But I think fundamentally, the question that arises is, what are we trying to do self-custody of? It's not just the keys. I mean, keys are just a data set. It's really self-custody of key elements of our life, financial, non-financial attributes. And not everything is stored in crypto wallets today, but if you look a little bit down the road, you're going to need to figure out a way to get people to hold a lot more of the information today that they rely upon others to hold for them, or don't even know that others hold for them. So this issue of self-custody really extends to custody of all kinds of human attributes that we're going to need to learn to protect and own. And in that sense, this problem is way bigger than just managing the crypto keys and the crypto wallet keys.
Yeah, well said, man. And Genius.
Yeah, all this was a great conversation. I just wanted to kind of say that I kind of disagree with the last previous speaker before two ago, in that I do think we have solutions. I just think that we need a hybrid. You need to be able to do both. It's like, look, you got the normies and you got the degens, and if you support them both, and your system can support the normies and secure them, but then the degens don't have to use your system, right? And it's like the privacy thing. It's like, look, you can use it if you want, and because you want something private, but you don't have to. And so you got to kind of build for that thought process where it's optional. It's just like the ledger comment. I have a ledger, and I think the recovery thing is like, Well, I mean, you might have to have your device. I don't know, but to me, that's more like I don't fault them for that. It's like, look, if I lost my Ledger device, then yeah, I have the backup in my safe at a bank, and if I forgot my keys or I have to prove something to the bank, that's the same thing as going to Ledger and saying, hey, unlock this thing for me so that I can go get my card, my hammered on metal card that has my key in it. And so I don't know what Ledger offers. If they're offering, that even if you lose your Ledger, they can recover your key. That is like just I'm distraught about that. If that's what it is they can recover my key. Okay, well now I'm gonna have to switch off a Ledger probably. But
I mean, I didn't know exactly about that, but they definitely
that was
they had a back door, I think, is
I
what
think
they.
it's really,
exactly.
Yeah.
they had a scandal about
Yeah,
it.
there was
I
the
remember
claim of a backdoor, and right.
in the hardware though, does the hardware have to be available? I mean,
No, it was like publicly accessible in a sense that you can recover your password, and there was a massive media scandal about it. I'm not sure if they closed that thing down.
oh well, then they'd have to have the device because there's a password on top of the private key, and then to get into that. But then they'd have to have access to the device. So I'm not too worried about that part.
Well,
But
I
that's
mean,
good.
either way, it means that
No,
they
they
do store
were.
those passwords somewhere.
Yeah, it's a PIN number. And I think the idea was that like if a entity like the FBI or something got your ledger, like they could essentially give them a way in. But yeah.
Okay, well that I'm okay with.
Well, one big issue of it, and I think they walked it back, was they essentially would custody parts of your keys with third parties. So in fact, if you called their recover function and said, "Hey, I lost my stuff," excuse me, as long as you could identify and KYC and all of that, the concept was a separate crypto firm, ledger, and a backup provider would all coordinate to give you your keys back. And oh my God, that's horrible. And I think they shut that down very quickly. But it's that concept of sharding the keys or splitting it into parts and who custodies those and how safe it really was. It just speaks to the controversy of all of the management that we're talking about. And, for what it's worth, people have very secure solutions. If I remember, Stephen Thomas at Ripple is still, I think, arguing with an iron key that's got 7,000 bitcoins on it. That was perfectly secure, but he can't get into it. So there's aspects of that too much security is too much.
Yeah, I saw that guy. I feel for that guy. That's gotta suck so bad. I think he was offered.
He
I was just gonna say, I think he was offered like for a security company to go in, but he said he already had to deal with another one. But they've tried like 7 times and it hasn't happened.
Yeah, the problem is if he tries too many times, the iron key will wipe itself. And I think in the details that, yeah, he contracted with somebody to recover it. They haven't yet. And somebody else said, well, we could. And that gets into the nexus between self-custody and my own, financial system, and who do I yell at and what next do I ring when things go bad. And in the corporate world, that stuff is huge. The amount of litigation and stuff going on there is just unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's crazy. I mean, you figure, I guess he could wait until there's like a sufficiently powerful quantum computer he could access to break the encryption on that. But yeah, that's kind of the horror story, right? That's the other way, which is why I think I'm a little okay with like the thought of a company that holds your keys, where if you have like legal remuneration, I guess, against them, like if they lose your key or it gets out there or whatever. I mean, it's a lot of questions to ask, but I definitely think that that's possible. So yeah. But yeah, guys.
Yeah, that insurance, that's an industry that's starting up now too, is insurance against crypto loss.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that necessarily either. If people want to use it, they should be able to use it. I mean, you should offer whatever to people and then let the market decide, right? I mean, that's the idea.
Sure.
So, but yeah.
I did just want to make one comment just in response to what I think it was Genius said, that there really are at least two different populations that we're aiming at here. It might have been Get Block. I'm sorry if I got you guys confused. that there's as was said, you know, sort of the noobs and the degenerates, if you want to sort them into that group. I would add a third, which I sort of fall into, and that's the real tech aficionados and the evangelists. But aiming at each of those populations is a different solution. The degens want to control their everything and have access and not worry about regulation and just trade and make money and do. And then there's folks that just want to use it to pay bills. And what is all this fuss about? And who gives a damn? I think that's the massive group we're aiming at, that we need easy, reliable, insurance-backed, 800 number-backed, help desk-backed offerings for. Not necessarily the group that we all may fall into in this room, but all of our friends that don't know what Bitcoin is yet, or don't know what a token is, or God forbid, RW, all these other acronyms that are coming out. Everybody's behind the curve. I mean, including us, but we take a lot of this for granted, that that's what's current and that's where the state of the space is. And we forget that 80% of the world has no idea what the hell we're doing or why. And yet those are the mass adoption folks we're trying to capture. I think that bears remembering a lot of times.
Yeah, I don't think we can move forward if we don't. But yeah, great points, man.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, this is a great space. We are a bit over time, and I do have to run because I have another call. But I appreciate you guys. This is a really deep, insightful space. So thank you guys for making it a good one. I really appreciate that. I'd love to have all of you guys back as well. I encourage you guys to follow each other too. That's what this is about. You know, connecting you guys to people that maybe you hadn't talked to before. If you want to throw me a follow, I'm up there in the co-host spot. If you liked me, I guess. And even if you didn't, go ahead. But yeah, that's it, guys. This was Web3 Global Talks, episode 428, powered by our friends at GNUS AI. And we're definitely going to see them for a couple weeks coming forward now. So thanks for helping us out with some days in the coming weeks. We appreciate it. But other than that, guys, I got to run. I'll see you guys tomorrow for episode 429. And until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to y'all later.
Thank you, guys. It was great speaking to you all.
Bye.